um people coming in because I get caught up and don't see this screen. When a man taking a wife and married her, and it come to pass that she find no favor in his eyes because he has found some uncleanliness in her, then let him write her a bill of divorcement and give it in her hand and send her out of his house. And when she is departed out of his house, she may go and be another man's wife. How in the world did we miss this? How in the world did we just miss this? Like, how did we not know this? And this is what I mean about studying the weighty matters of scripture that will transform and break generational curses. I've been talking a lot about having the keys to break generational curses.
Can you pause for just a moment? I have a question.
Okay, go
If you're
ahead.
going to stop the recording.
Well,
Okay,
stop.
Sister
Okay,
Emma. Yeah.
okay, go ahead.
Sister Emma says she can't, it will not allow me to enter the Zoom. I sent her the email with the link
She got to
and
go
she
to
said it's
Patreon. She can't if she got to reinstate her Patreon if she have it.
okay.
Cause I'm trying to keep this teaching because what we about to learn is so I'm trying to keep it really try to keep
Okay, I'm gonna let her know if you're
yeah.
signed up with Christina.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I'm texting her now. Okay, I just want to tell you that right quick.
Yeah. So
Okay.
they got to go through the Patreon because I know some people signed up for Patreon. And I said that this teaching is for paid members only because the nature of the business and some women may share some stuff, you know what I'm saying, that don't need to be out there for everybody that don't mean us no good. Uh, so this is the only way I know to keep us safe. All right. So you want me to hit record now? Resume.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. All right. So this seems self explanatory. This Deuteronomy 24, verses 1 through 2. Okay. Let's read 3. And if the latter husband hate her, so this is her second husband. If the latter husband hate her and write her a bill of divorcement and give it in her hand, and then he send her out of his house, or if the latter husband die, which took her to be his wife, right? Her first husband, which sent her away, may not take her again to be his wife after that she is defiled. For that is an abomination before Yahweh, and you shall not cause the land to sin, which Yahweh your Elohim give you for an inheritance. Okay, so this is where people are not really, or maybe they doing it on purpose. They're doing it on purpose, and I just believe it's the enemy to keep us bound. Because again, we have to have those keys to be able to unlock generational curses. And what way to keep us bound is to keep us, our families, locked up, to keep women in a state of fear because they cannot remarry because they are divorced. While the men going around doing whatever they want to, as we're going to study and see throughout the text. So you cannot go back to your first husband after your second husband either divorces you or he dies. The first husband can't say, you know what? Come on back home. That's a no-no because now you have been defiled, and rightly so, because he the one really, in most cases, he the one that probably put you out of the house, who wanted the divorce. Not in all cases, but in most cases. And now you're not gonna send for her again. So as we can see, divorce was common among Semitic people. I don't know where we have gotten this idea that divorce didn't happen among Semitic people, including Israelites, but it's right here in the Torah, right? So to me, there is a hostile plan against us as a people who and believers, because even people who are Christians who are trying to understand this, I have a person right now that I know personally who is in a marriage because her pastor told her that she could not divorce, and she is going through abuse. She's been not just abused physically, emotionally, but he abusing her by cheating on her. And she has been with this man how many years? 20 some years, if not 30 some years. And do you understand her state of mind of being in a relationship like that because her pastor said she couldn't divorce? Because we have unlearned people handling the word. And Christianity, and I'm gonna get to that in a minute, they go about what Messiah said. So, but when you don't understand where Messiah is coming from, you are going to give that ill advice. Well, you can't leave him unless he committed adultery. Well, that man committed adultery. Now, to me, the wife just don't want to leave because sometimes we find ourselves in a state of I can't leave the husband because I'm not financially able to, right? And so we'll see many wives choose to say, okay. But as far as divorce, this is something that has been going on and still going on. And it doesn't make you abominable in the eyes of the Most High because you have now had a divorce, right? And like I told the young lady sitting in the meeting yesterday, and all of the ladies, listen, the Torah gives an answer for divorce. However, you need to find out why you got a divorce in the first place. And most times, in my personal experience with counseling women, all of the women have told me that they were not supposed to marry that man, that they understood. Either they heard from the Most High themselves, God at the time, or their family members said, "Don't marry that man," right? And we do it anyway, right? Because that we love him, right? That type of stuff. And every last case that I have heard, the woman always says, "I knew I shouldn't have married." Okay, so this right here, we have to remember this is for the people of Israel. This is for people who are keeping Torah, right? And then now keep that in mind as we comb through the scriptures. This command is for a nation of people. And those that are grafted in, yes, but this is spoken to a nation of people who should know better, who is given a set of laws, a set of civil laws that should know better. And people think that the Most High made a command so that people can get divorced. No. And this is why we have to take our time with text, because as we see throughout Torah that we have the 10 sayings. Like that's not gonna you not changing that. That is what it is. Do not lie in 20 AD is do not lie in 2024. All right. But these laws given to the people that are civil laws, we have 613 of them that are civil laws that was meant for us to practice in our land. When you are in exile, a lot of stuff changes anyway because you are outside of the land. So these are civil laws. So I ask people all the time, do you think that they were practicing something else before the Most High gave them these set of laws? Before the children of Israel went into slavery, as Joseph foresaw, right? Do you think before they were Hebrew people, because these still the same people, before he brought them out of slavery and brought them into the land, do we think that they were practicing different things? because I don't know what we think they were doing before slavery, right? And I want to say that certain people could hear and walk with Yah and understand what to do and what not to do. But when we just think like naturally, and these people are around a lot of other people that are doing a lot of things, like serving 50,000 different gods, right? Worshiping different gods. And they're not really what we would call civilized in the way of having morals and ethics. Here come the Most High on the scene and gives his people morals and ethics, code of ethics. And that you can find in any low level college history class where it is taught, because I took the class and my husband took it too, where it is taught that by the time the Hebrews came on the scene, that their Elohim gave a code of ethics and moral standards that the people around them had not ever seen before. They hadn't even heard it before. And so that means that they were doing a lot of crazy and wild things, including treating their women any kind of way. And when we see this command or this civil law put into effect, it is to protect the woman. And when you look at it as we comb through it, this is not to punish the woman. This is to protect the woman because the men were just stubborn and had a very hard heart at the time. And he knew, Moshe knew the hardness of their hearts, they were going to treat the women a certain type of way. Why? Because we just going to go all the way back to Adam when he told the Most High, you gave me this woman. So you need to be fussing at her. And we see that theme, that ideology going down through the time, through the men, that they just cannot get it right with their women. And I'm not saying all the men, but as we're going to see over history, that men just did not view women the way that they should. And the Most High had to give provision to protect the woman so that she would not just be done any kind of way. All right. So again, this command benefited the wife. Now she can legally marry again within the Hebrew nation. So yes, if a man gave her a get, you got to give her a get, a bill of divorcement. Let's click on those words. A sefer, right? A document, a bill, a book, evidence, a letter, a scroll. He has to give her that of divorcement. Karath, a cutting. So divorce is a cutting of the matrimonial bond. It is cut, it is severed, right? And now he has to give her that bill and he has to place it in her hand because there's power in what this really is indicating. You see this indicating power and direction. So now he's giving the bill of divorcement, the get in the Hebrew, GET. He's giving that and he has to place it in her hand, giving her the power, right, to remarry. And then he's going to send away. He's going to send her out of the house. But this is not, okay, now get out. That's not what send away means. But we're going to get through that. So he has to place a get. He has to put it in her hand, giving her the legal power now to be able to go get remarried. But he just can't send her out without anything. He must send her out correct. All right. So before we get into that part, let's look at because we know people who know they Torah, they gonna come with these scriptures like they do with Shabbat. Do no pleasure on the Shabbat. That's talk about Yom Kippur. right? So we're taking scriptures out of context and we're not really understanding Torah. So we are in Leviticus 21 and we're going to 7. Um, who is he talking to? So let's go to verse 1 just to see who Moshe is talking to. And Yahweh said unto Moshe, speak unto the priests, the sons of Aaron, and say unto them. So now, in context, this chapter is talking to the priest. So we go into verse 7. The priest shall not take a wife that is a whore or profane, neither shall they take a woman put away from her husband, for he is holy unto his Elohim. So let's see, put away. What do we think it means? Garage, to drive out from a possession, divorce. So a priest could not take a wife that was a whore. Okay, a whore is a whore in ancient times, you know, in 2024, or profane, pierce, polluted, right? We should know what polluted mean. Having sex outside, you know, she's not a virgin, all right? Neither shall they take a woman who is divorced. So when people just gonna pull this scripture out of the clear blue sky and apply it to them, and this is directly to the priests. So when people come to you with that, they have to keep the scriptures in context. Numbers 30 and 9. Let's see what that has to say. Numbers 30. But every vow of a widow and of her that is divorced, wherewith they have bound their souls and stand against her. Right? So this particular divorced is for is pertaining to the vow of a widow. So, and if she vowed in her husband's house or bound her soul by a bond with an oath, right? And her husband heard it. We know this already about the vow. So if anybody bring this up, okay, this is not talking to all women. They have to keep this in context. Deuteronomy 22. Let's go there. 22, 19, and 29. Let's see what it says. And they shall amerce. What does this word mean? To inflict a penalty. Oh, to fine. Okay, it's a punishment. Verse 19. And they shall give a penalty, which is of 100 shekels. Prophetess Gil, favorite word, of silver, and give them unto the father of the damsel, the young lady, because he has brought up an evil name upon a virgin of Israel. As she shall be his wife, he may not put her away all the days of his life. Oops. So he cannot divorce her at all. He cannot send her away. Anytime you see the word send away, now that we are combing through Torah, you're going to understand what takes place before she is sent away. That's Deuteronomy 24 and 1. Before she is sent away, what happened? She had to have the bill of divorcement, the get. She had to have it placed in her hand, giving her the power to now remarry because she is divorced. And then he what? Sends her away. We got to know key words in the Hebrew, right, as we comb through scriptures. So anytime you see put her away, send her away, know that's talking about that she had to have been divorced. So he's saying this chastisement of whatever is going on, and if we read up further, we'll see that he brought an evil name upon a virgin of Israel. Now he has to take her to be his wife, and he can't divorce her all his days. That is his wife forevermore. So that is grounds for no divorce ever. Right? And I'm going to leave you all to read this chapter. This is Deuteronomy 22. What did he do to this virgin that caused him to now have to marry her and he cannot divorce her ever? Right? So that's one of the grounds for no divorce ever. Right? 29, let's see what it's saying. The man that lay with her shall give unto the damsel's fathers 50 shekels of silver, and she shall be his wife, because he had humbled her. He may not put her away all his days. So it's just rehashing. That's what you're not going to do to this woman. And these provisions were made again to protect the women. And when we look at ancient times, I think we focus on how bad the women, sometimes were treated. Let's just be honest. And sometimes they were. Not all the time, but sometimes they were. But we see, because of the mindset of the men during that time, that the Most High had to create these set of laws to protect the woman. Not that this was his first line of defense. Like, no, he would never want men to treat their women like this. But if he did not give a command for the women, we would have been jacked up. If he did not come in our nation and say, this is what you not going to do to one of my daughters and get away with it. There is penalties that you're going to have to pay, whether it's with your life, right? Or whether it's with your shekels. But you're not about to do her any kind of way and leave her abandoned and financially in ruins. That's what you're not going to do. Because as I was telling my husband, when we women look at Torah, he spoke to the 12 brothers, sons. There was no inheritance given, right, to the women. It was all the knucklehead boys. The women did not have that type of inheritance. The only time we see it is with Zelophehad's daughters, when there were no men. So they had to marry men right within the tribe so that they can remain having the inheritance. And I'm gonna tell you something. My father just pulled a Torah move on me. Now, before I became a McCormick, I was a Turner, and all of my children were Turners. So I remember years ago, my brothers came and told me, Tina, you're gonna inherit the house. I know that house paid over 2 times in Chicago. And so this last time we went to see our parents, because my mother was sick, my father informed me that the house cannot be inherited by me or any of my descendants. He said, because my name has now changed to McCormick and the children's name has changed to McCormick. So, because of that, he wanted the house to remain in the Turner's name. Now, my kids have free access to the house. They could come to the house, they could live in the house, whatever. But as far as them having the house in their name, he said no, that the house can only be in the brothers' name who are Turners and their descendants. Now, I know that's an ouch to us women, right? When you hear it, you like, and I'm the firstborn, but I'm a daughter. We see, and my parents crack me up when they do Torah and don't realize they doing it. And most people, when I tell them that, they get a little, they like, but when you think about it, this is a Torah principle. Because we love talking about Yaakov and his 12 descendants who get the blessing, but do we ever talk about his daughters who get the blessing? No, because we are in our father's house and we are covered by our father and our grandfather. So whatever they got, they're supposed to take care of us until we have a husband who will now cover us. Right? And through our sons and daughters, we get the inheritance. And this is why a lot of women, you know, look, you have to do what you had to do back then. Because if not, you would just be in your father's house for the rest of your life with no inheritance, right? And we can see that playing out for many of our women today, right? It's making us think. It's just making us think. I know our wheels are turning, right? And so I have to accept that my children will not inherit that house. But guess what they're going to inherit? Their fathers. property and land, their father's inheritance. They will inherit that and then give it to their descendants who will become McCormicks. But my daughters, if when they marry, then that inheritance changes because now they are going to inherit through their husbands when their name changes. So you see how Torah is. Now, do we think it's fair that the men get to inherit and the women are just taken care of by the father? I was really contemplating that and I was like, well, if we did Torah the way that it's supposed to be done, you would be taken care of very good. Like if your father really took care of you like the way he's supposed to, and by the time your husband come, man, the diary and everything is right because we'll find out that the ketubah diary is is becomes the alimony for the wife just in case, right? He tried to give her divorce. Ding, ding, ding. Just in case he tried to give her a divorce, that ketubah, that diary, over time did not go to the father. Over time, they had to maybe take a portion of it or give the whole thing and put it like what do we call when we put our money in a holding, like if we're buying a house or a piece, what is that called, y'all? Oh my gosh, I done forgot. Escrow. Like an escrow when you can't touch it, right, and it is put there for a specific use. That ketubah, I said, you know what, the Most High is such a loving father because even though he's dealing with defected humans, he's going to make sure that he provides for the women. All right. So that get, let's just talk about the get process. I could not find a get for us to look at, but I did find this book, Amazon. So let's see if I can put it in the chat. Put the link in the chat. I did find this book, and this book has pieces of a get, and he tells you what is on the get, right, and what is on the ketubah. So I said I was going to get this book, this guy, and I was reading a lot of his commentary, and I was like, whoa, really good. So if you want to kind of know what's in a get or a ketubah, so let me put that in the chat so you can know those Hebrew words. Get is the Hebrew word for divorce, document, and ketubah. I think we all have heard of the ketubah. Okay. That's the marriage document. Okay. So a get, what goes on with a get? The process. So the Most High placed this process in the hearts of the rabbinic council. Our rabbis or elders. So you have to appear before the court. It's called a beit din. I want us to get used to these Hebrew words. These are Hebrew words that everybody should know. This is the uh, court of law. You see that house? So this is the court of law, the house of law. Okay. So the couple has to appear before the bet din. The husband, he has a scribe to write a get in front of two witnesses. So this is a whole process. He just can't tell her to get out the house and send her away without an actual document and without going through a process. The husband places the get into the wife's hands, right? Declaring that she is free to remarry. You look that up. The four corners are torn so that it can be reused, and the bet dean files it, and they grant both of them documents of release. If she does not receive a get, she becomes a guna, a chained wife. A guna, chained wife. Why? Because he has legally separated from her, right? But he has not legally divorced her. So she's separated, but she cannot remarry. And if she does, she commits adultery. Why? Because she is chained still to him. He got her in a chain. And we know some marriages like that where your spouse would not give you a divorce just so he can have you chained. And he don't even know why he doing it. Basically, this spirit that's coming down through the generations, this curse, just chain you for life, and you ain't never got a divorce. And that happens. That's for real. I know people like that. They just, you know, caught up in that web. And I was like, boy, I'm glad I am walking into her because that Negro, y'all, woo! Okay, so she cannot remarry. Right, all right. So I think we've talked about putting away, but people are going to come to you with Messiah. So now we done combed through Torah. I didn't go through every single scripture, but now we go walk on over to the renewed covenant with Messiah, and they're gonna throw these scriptures at you to lock you in, right? This is what Hebrews do that don't know their word. This is what we all do. All of us. I didn't know till I studied. I knew that we could get a divorce, but I could not tell you the process, right? The correct process. And I'm glad that Shetta asked this question because we all women and your daughters should know this because even though we are in exile, this is why it's important for your daughters to have a marriage contract, the license, and then if they get a divorce, to have the divorce papers, not just sex is marriage, because we're gonna find out Messiah was like, no, sex is not marriage. He debunked that, and this is why I love Messiah. He came back like, I'm the living Torah. That's not what that means. All right. Putting away Matthew 14. So we all know that the gospel account is seen by more than one person. More than one person is putting the information down. So you have some Talmudim saying one thing and another Talmudim not quite saying it how Matthew said it and John said it in a different way, but they are saying the same thing. So then you have to know your Hebrew and you need to study a little bit of the Greek, all right? Otherwise, you're going to take Messiah right out of context. And remember, Messiah is talking to a Hebrew people. He don't have to spell out a whole lot of stuff. They know what a divorce is. Is us, the audience who's reading this book, who do not understand divorce. He's saying key words. So now that we know what send away means, we already know what comes before sending away. We already know the process. So Matthew 14 and 15. But see, other people don't want to take the time to comb through scripture. They just want to pick out scriptures. That's not cool. And this is just showing you the word send away. And when it was evening, his disciples came to him, saying, this is a desert place, and the time is now past. Send the multitude away, that they may go into the villages and buy themselves victuals. This is not talking about nobody's divorce. It really isn't. Can I find that word? Apulos, send away. It's hard for me to read to get the Greek. It really is. I wish I could see the Greek apulos. Nope, I'm not even gonna try to find it. Matthew 14, 15, 22. We just gonna look at send away. 22. And straightway Yeshua constrained his disciples to get into a ship and to go before him unto the other side while he sent the multitudes away. This is key words. Even though this is transliterated to the Greek, the Messiah, they're still writing in a very Hebrew way. All right. So send away is not a divorce. That's a process that happens. It's just sending the person away. But when it pertains to a divorce, you got to send her away properly. All right. 15. We'll do one more because it's a whole lot of verses. Um, for this, but we're not going to comb through like that. They say line upon line, precept upon precept, but they don't do it. They say it out of their mouths, but they do not do what they say. 23, but he answered her not a word, and his disciples came and besought him, saying, Send her away, for she crieth after us. All right, so now we're going to go over to Messiah using this same phrase. Now, we done seen Messiah, we done seen the Talmudim talking about sending people away. Now, we know good and well that that's not talking about divorce, but we're going to see Messiah use the same phrase in divorce. So before I get to that, um, let's find Messiah 5. Is it 5:31? Yeah, that's the scripture that sets everything in motion within the faith, whether you're a Christian or whether you're a Hebrew. This verse right here have everybody confused. 5. This is the Sermon on the Mountaintop, right? He's given all of his interpretation, the correct interpretation of Torah. All of the laws, he's combing through them. Here we go, verse 31. It has been said, whosoever shall put away his wife, let him give her a writing of divorcement. Okay, he said it in perfect context here, so I don't understand what people's problem is. It hath been said, whosoever shall put away his wife, let him give her a writing of divorcement. I don't understand why people do not want to do their due diligence when it comes to things. It is because that is a deceitful spirit that wants to keep everybody bound and wants to keep everybody confused. You have to give a writing of divorcement. You cannot just put her away. 32, but I say unto you, here we go, that whosoever shall put away his wife, saving for the cause of fornication, ding, 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 causes her to commit adultery, and whosoever shall marry her, that is divorced, committeth adultery. Ooh, so Messiah is saying the only thing that should keep a Hebraic marriage apart to get that cutting of the matrimonial bond is fornication. So, what is Messiah really saying? This is why we can't just jump. I know I jumped to the verses. I jumped right to Matthew 31 and 32, what most people do. But you can't, because Matthew is giving you insight into a conversation that is happening with the Pharisees. But the way Matthew has put it in the gospel account, in his version, you don't see him talking to the Pharisees. You just see Matthew saying, this is what Messiah said about this. This is what Messiah said about this. This is what Messiah said about this. And then you get to divorce, and this is what Messiah said about this. And then he moves on, right? He moves right on at 34. But I say unto you, swear not at all, because he's talking about a vow, verse 33. Don't swear. So there's no really context, because you're supposed to already know the context as a Hebrew. So where is that other scripture that contradicts, um or not contradict, but that describes Messiah and all that he is saying? Is it John? John is usually the one that is giving out the context. Let me see if it's John 4. So we got Matthew's account. What is the other account? I better have wrote it down. Because the Pharisees is trying to trip up Messiah with this. Let's see. Uh-huh. Let's see. Give him water. This is with Mary at the well for 15. Mm, oh, this is going to prove my point that sex is not marriage. I don't want to get here yet. John, yeah, John 4, by the time Messiah talks to her and she is what we would consider a whore, he debunks that sex is marriage right out the gate. I am trying to find 15, is it 15 and 23? Matthew 15 and 23. Because people are going to hit you with this doggone thing. And we got to have an answer. We can't be, I'm Hebrews and not have an answer. No, that's just saying send her away. Where is the scripture? Matthew 14 and 4. Let's see. Mm, mm-hmm. No. Is it 15? Nope, 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 nope. Uh, Nope, nope, nope. That is not it. No. I must have wrote it down wrong. So what we gonna do is how I study. Oh, let me go to Matthew 19. When you can't find the answer, you type the question in the doggone Google and up and you have to comb through to get the right answer. Matthew 19 and 9. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is it. Matthew 19. All right. So people have to understand at that time what was going on. Messiah is being set up by the Pharisees, and they are asking him this particular question to trip him up. All right, so we just went through the traditional way that a person should get a divorce with a get. They have to have a bill of divorce and they must appear before the rabbinic court, right? However, as most Negroes do over time, Negroes start changing the process because Negroes, that's what we do. Okay. So over time, we have rabbis who give their thoughts as to what a divorce should entail. So the school of thought, and I'm going to give you this, we all have heard of Hillel, or I hope you have heard of Rabbi Hillel and Rabbi Shema, right? So let me put these in the chat so that you can look up this stuff for yourself because this is where we get our people acting a fool because the rabbis have now gave their thoughts on divorce, what it should be. So by the time Messiah comes on the scene, you have different schools of thought. So the rabbinic council meets and decides on these schools of thought on how we are going to walk out the Torah command. That's just is what it is. It has always been. So what we see in the YouTube streets and in Instagram, that's something that has always gone on. A bunch of people talking about, their take on Torah. Okay, so the school of thought was Hillel. Let me go back. His school of thought, y'all ready for this? Is that a man could divorce a woman for any reason. This is seen throughout all of those years before Messiah comes on the scene. They went from the traditional get, the bill of divorcement to, oh no, you could just divorce your wife for anything. If she burned the food up, you could, y'all think I'm joking. Get that book and read it. If she burned the food up, if she get fat, if you just don't like her no more, you know what I'm saying? Whatever the reason is, you could give her a bill of divorcement. And not only that, so a lot of those Negroes was not even giving her a get. They was just sending her away and sending her away with nothing. When you give a get and you send her away, remember you have to give that alimony, what we call alimony. But it was that ketubah diary that was set up for her to protect her just in case you left her. She would be sent away with stuff. They was like, we doing away with all of that. You see how over time, as time goes on, our hearts get more wicked. And now we in 2024 and men are just leaving the house. They're not even, you ain't even getting married. They just pumping you up with babies and leaving. And I said, this is the um, residue of this particular rabbi and his school of thought saying you could just divorce a woman for any cause, and we're going to prove that in the scripture. Rabbi Shammai, on the other hand, this rabbi, he said, the Torah said that you can only divorce on grounds of sexual immorality. When we look at Deuteronomy 24, that is the grounds for a Hebraic divorce. But not just sexual immorality, because we're going to comb through the ketubah just a little bit. But really, if you have a good Hebraic couple, the only thing that should separate that marital bond is adultery. Because inside of the ketubah, you're supposed to be obligated to do all of those things. There should be no abuse. There should be no neglect. Now, if somebody had a moment of weakness and stepped outside of the covenant, then if you wanted to, you could break that bond. You could break that covenant because the covenant already been broken, right? And you could now divorce. If we're talking about a good, healthy Hebrew couple, and maybe he went off to war, maybe she had a baby and she couldn't, perform her wifely duties. Maybe he couldn't perform his wifely duties and you stepped outside the marriage. We're just talking, we're just thinking about ways that a couple would commit adultery. And then you had that right. So that's what Deuteronomy 24 is about. It doesn't give you a right to abuse or neglect your wife, because inside of the ketubah, you're supposed to be taking care of her anyway. You're not supposed to be abusing her. That's just like a given. But if was weak in your flesh and you had an affair, there was a way out. That's what Shammai believed. Okay. All right. So let's go back to Messiah. Let's go up some. Woo, the Pharisees coming to trap him. Now let's read slowly. This is Matthew 19, verse 3. The Pharisees also came unto him, tempting him. See that? Testing him and saying unto him, is it lawful for a man to put away his wife for every cause? Didn't I just say that Rabbi Hillel put that in the ears of most of the men? A famous rabbi who everybody respected at that time. And this put away a wife for any cause was becoming popular, in so much that Joseph was about to use it. Oh, we're going to get there in a minute. Joseph was about to use it on Mary, like, I'm going to put you away. But Joseph was going to use it in a just way. And we'll talk about that in a minute. Verse 4, and he answered and said unto them, have you not read that he which made them at the beginning made them male and female? And said, for this cause shall a man leave his father and mother, and shall cleave to his wife, and they twain shall be one flesh. Wherefore they are no more twain, but one flesh. What therefore Elohim have joined together, let no man put asunder. He just gonna speak Torah to them. He don't care nothing about what no Rabbi Hillel has said. This is what the Torah say. Y'all listening to him on this issue, you might want to listen to what Torah says on this issue. Verse 7, they say unto him, so why did Moses did command to give a writing of divorce and to put her away? Boy. Because Messiah, like, that wasn't that's not how it was in the beginning, before y'all knuckleheads, fell in sin. Verse 8, he said unto them, Moses, because of the hardness of your hearts, suffered you to put away your wives. But from the beginning of Torah, it was not so. And I say unto you, knuckleheads, whosoever shall put away his wife, except it be for fornication, and shall marry another, committed adultery. And whoso marry her, which is put away, do commit adultery. Okay? And so they said, his disciples said to him, if this is the case of the man be so with his wife, it is not good to marry. Because now you were obligated to keep Deuteronomy 24 and 1. You just couldn't put her away for any reason, except for adultery. But at this time, they were used to doing what they want to, just how they do now. They pump you up, they leave you, or they neglect you, and they abuse you, and they cause you to have to divorce. And I want to backtrack for a second. A wife always had to give a consent to a divorce. I'm going to say that one more time. A wife always had to give consent to a divorce, but it was the man that gave the bill of divorcement during this time. He was the one who had to give his consent as well, but he was the one who had to enact the bill of divorcement. The only time she could enact a bill of divorcement is if she went to the Bet Din, right, the house of law, and compelled the rabbinic council to persuade her husband because he was neglectful, he wasn't upholding the ketubah, he was abusive, and she had to go to them to say, you need to get this man. And then they would get on that man and persuade him to have a divorce. But I want us to understand we were not powerless. We had to consent to it. There was that court process really protected us. And this is what these Pharisees and Sadducees and the men of this time didn't like, because at this time, as you read history and you go through Josephus writings, you go through Hillel writings, you go through Shema writings, the Gadites, the Zadokites, you go through Messianic people who were followers of Messiah, you see the different schools of thought. But everybody can think what they want to. Messiah said, Deuteronomy 24 and 1 is what stands. Okay? So when people say, you know, Messiah said you can't divorce unless you commit adultery, he was trying to answer Hillel's teachings that became popular during this time. Y'all know Messiah is very specific. He didn't give a broad stroke to divorce because there is no way Messiah is only going to allow you to divorce for adultery when the man has broken the ketubah and he's neglecting and abusing you. And see, this is how people will talk to you. But Messiah said, he didn't say neglect or abuse. He is talking to the Pharisees who is asking him about Rabbi Hillel's school of thought. For any cause, there is nothing in the Torah that said you can divorce your wife for any cause. There's nowhere in the Torah. We just went through it. As a matter of fact, what we saw was when you treat a virgin a certain type of way, you're going to marry her and you can never divorce her. That's what we saw. But we did not see in the Torah that you could just divorce your wife for any cause. No, no, no. So he, in this context, is talking to Rabbi Hillel's school of thought. And then after he bust them out with just the Torah, they was like, well, it ain't no good. Don't get married. Yeah, if you're going to treat your wife any old kind of way, don't get married. So when we're talking about, remember when, who was that? Herod's son and the wife? Let's go there. Let's go there. Herod's son and the wife. We have to keep this particular thing in context. I think that's Luke 16 and 18. Some people gonna come at us from all angles. Let's go to Luke. Because people just want to change Torah to fit the way they want to because they want to get out of their responsibilities, right? Let's see. Make sure this is the correct one. Yep. All right. Okay, so let's start at 16. This is Luke chapter 16. Okay, Luke chapter 16. Verse 16, the law and the prophets were until John. Since that time, the kingdom of Elohim is preached, and every man press into it. And it is easier for heaven and earth to pass than for one tittle of the law to fail. This is the setup. Whosoever put away his wife and marry another commits adultery. And whosoever marry her that is put away from her husband commit adultery. All right. You see how this theme keeps coming up, and we like, well wait a minute. Well, wait a minute, because when we go down further, we don't see it start talking about um a certain beggar named Lazarus, which was laid at the gate full of sores. Like, what in the world? Why would they stick this in here? But again, these are gospel accounts. And so sometimes the people who translate, for whatever reason, translate it and put it in a way that don't make any sense to us as people who are outsiders. Yes, us, we waking up, we have been disconnected from language and everything else. So we outsiders, and we trying to figure out, well, he keeps saying we can't get divorced unless it's, adultery. But this is pertaining to that particular Rabbi Hillel's teaching that was popular during the time of the apostles and the Talmudim. We got to keep that in context, right? Got to keep that in context because people going to take you all over the scriptures. But now that we know that context, they can't hold that over our head anymore. You got to know your history and you have to know the culture. You just can't read the scripture because you're going to miss out on that interpretation. So we just did that. Okay. Matthew 14 and 4. Let's go to Matthew 14 and 4. I want us to see this Herod when they put John to death because he called out they raggedy ways. Matthew 14. He got put to death for calling out uh they raggedy stuff. Like got put to death. This is chapter 14 of Matthew, verse 1. At that time, Herod the tetrarch heard of the fame of Yeshua, and he said unto his servants, this is John the Baptist. He is risen from the dead, and therefore mighty works do show forth themselves in him. So we're setting up Herod. Verse 3, for Herod had laid hold to John and bound him and put him in prison for Herodias' sake, his son. So Herodias is Herod's son, his brother Philip's wife. So right here, for Herod had laid hold on John and bound him and put him in prison for Herodias' sake, his brother Philip's wife. For John said unto him, it is not lawful for you to have her. It's a whole scandal going on. These two people decided to leave their husband and wife without a formal divorce. Okay? They just left the marriage for any cause because they was digging on each other, whether they slept with each other before or whether they was lusting after each other, and then they decided to leave their spouses so that they can be together. John is calling it out. For John said unto him, verse 4, it is not lawful for you to have her. He called it out. They got piping mad. Verse 5. And when he would have put him to death, he feared the multitude because they counted him as a prophet. Okay, we're going to go down. We know what happened to John. He was beheaded. And they went to Messiah, right? And they told him, basically. Okay, we know that story. But I wanted to put this into context because this was a scandalous affair. And they divorced each other, their spouses, to be with each other. And John is saying that's your marriage is illegal. And that is why he got beheaded. They were not supposed to do that. They had to go, should have went through the legal process, but they did not. So everybody is going to continue to hop on the subject of you can't get a divorce unless it's for adultery only. That is true, but that's not all of it. I'm going to say it again. During this time, they believe in Rabbi Hillel's rabbinical teaching that you could divorce for any cause. We see the Pharisees brought that teaching to us, and the Messiah chopped that down. All right. So I think we getting it a little bit. Is y'all okay? All right. All right. Exodus 21. So let's go back. All right. Let's go back and look for the rules right before we end this because we're about to end this. The rules for wives. I hope we follow it. Exodus 21, verse 1. Now, these are the judgments which you shall set before them. So it's giving you the judgments, right? So let's go down to, okay, let's do 7. And if a man sell his daughter to be a maidservant, she shall not go out as the men servants do. If she please not her master, who hath betrothed her engagement to himself, then shall he let her be redeemed to sell her unto a strange nation. He shall have no power, seeing he have dealt deceitfully with her. And and if he have betrothed her unto his son, he shall deal with her after the manner of daughters. This is a judgment, a verdict, mishpat. You see that word? That's judgment of daughters. Okay, and those are words when you are studying and you see this. And if he have betrothed her unto his son, he shall deal with her after the manner of daughters. This is what you should type in your search engine. What is the manner of daughters? If you're really a good student of the word and you're not just sitting getting information and you really want to understand the text, this is how you study. And this is why it took me a whole week just to put this stuff together. Right? If he take him another wife, her food, her raiment, and her duty of marriage shall he not diminish. And if he do not these three unto her, then she shall go out free without money. See, even a female maidservant, right, who is taken in or sold to a master or to a man, he has to deal righteously with her. He has to either make her his wife or give her to his son to be his wife or let her be redeemed. And if he take another wife, because this is all for the wives, this is wife talk. If he happens to take a second wife, he must provide food, raiment, and duty of marriage, conjugal visits. He shall not diminish, because the whole point, really, back then, of a wife is to what? Provide children, right? To continue the house. So if he did not do that, she shall go free. So if this is done to a maid servant, to a slave that you have brought in and you betrothed and you want to marry her or you want to give her to the son, or if you want to take a second wife, you have to provide them food, clothing, and you have to provide them conjugal visits, or they are free to move on and be happy. They are free to move on. If he done that to them, what do you think is done for the wife? Like a wife that y'all legitimately got together to become one. And because we don't know our Torah, we let people tell us anything. And that includes me too. I'm not barking at everybody else. When we don't sit and comb Torah through, we let anybody tell us anything. And we have women around here who is scared to remarry because they are divorced and haven't did our due diligence as women to know what the Torah says about divorce, and for somebody to help us to understand Messiah's words. Because all we have to do is pray. Give us understanding. Send us a teacher that will sit down and help us to understand. But we just regurgitating and holding on to bread, manna that's filled with illness and sickness. It is making our whole generation sick. And we're going around when the Torah has given us provision, protection, that if you are married to a man and he's not doing what the marriage contract or the covenant says, he has broken the covenant. If you want to, you can initiate that divorce. Because he done broke the covenant. And if you can't get counseling, if you can't come together and pray, and if he mean that he ain't gonna do it, ding, ding, ding. You have the right to initiate that. A lot of teachers scared to say it. I ain't scared to say that because that's why we so bound up and stupid in the first place. Because we got with spouses that we were not supposed to get with in the first place, and then we think we bound to them forever. And when the spouse don't change, we scared to get a divorce because we felt now you have gotten with that spouse without the permission of the Most High and without the permission of your father's house. And you just did it the way you want to. But now that you walking in faith, you want the Most High to fix your marriage when He was the one who said don't do it in the first place. And well, that's why when women come to me for counseling, I am going to ask you some very tough questions. I'm going to let you say what you need to say and get it all out. But I'm going to backtrack you all the way to day one. When you were thinking about getting married and you were getting ready to make the decision, what was going on? I mean, lightning be striking, hurricanes be taking place to tell the women not to do it. Literally, like y'all think I'm joking. Literally, stuff is taking place in nature, trying to get your attention because however the Most High speaks to you, if He got to speak to you through a lightning storm that happens the night before you get married to try to get your attention, hey, hey, don't do this. If He has to speak to you through your father's house to say, no, 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 or if He speaks to you directly in your spirit to say, now you know this is not what I want for you, and you do it anyway. And now that you are getting closer to the Most High, you want your spouse to get closer to the Most High, but he wasn't the one that you should have been with in the first place. He breaking the covenant, and you like, well, should I? He broke the covenant, but because you don't know that he is obligated to keep the covenant. And if he breaks it, the marital bond is now broken. You have a right to initiate the divorce because you haven't seen it in Torah. You don't know that. And then you hop over to Messiah's sayings, and you like, well, he said, well, then you don't know history and culture because Joseph was about to put away Mary. She coming up in there pregnant, and he ain't did nothing. He just betrothed to her. They ain't consummated the marriage, and you mean to tell me you pregnant? But he was righteous in his decision when he said, we gonna put you away quietly. And I said, oh, Joseph was really a just man because he wasn't going to put her away for adultery, right? Because he could have took it to the courts and made a whole open public spectacle of Mary. But he said, no, I'm going to do it Halal's way. You know, Rabbi Halal said we could get divorced for any cause. So I'm going to do it quietly when nobody got to know. And I'm going to just send her away. You know, I'm just going to send her away. But that would have been messed up anyway, because the Messiah could not have been born out of wedlock, you know, and not have a covering. Like that wasn't going to do. And this is why the angel had to speak to Joseph. Listen, ho, 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 ho. Do not send her away. Right? Because if you send her away without a bill of divorcement, she can't even go remarry no way. You're going to make her aguna, a chained wife. She's going to be chained for you forever. And we know the Messiah being born into the world cannot come through sin like that. He just can't. So I need for you to listen to me. Listen, this is from the Most High. Could you imagine that whole scene that Joseph had to be a very strong man of faith to to go with that. And that's what we don't know. Joseph was getting ready to give her a bill of divorcement through the any cause. He wasn't going to make a public spectacle out of Mary. And I was like, wow, Most High, this is just so fascinating how we don't know. Even if this is not our culture, even if you're not an Israelite and you have been grafted in, this is stuff that you need to know so that you don't go around in marriages that is not from the Most High, or the spouse has broken the marital bond, and you chaining yourself, your own self, to the person when you could initiate the divorce because you have legal grounds to do it. Neglect, abuse, adultery. But in a healthy Hebraic marriage, the Messiah is saying the only reason why you would divorce is through adultery. He's supposed to keep the ketubah. And in moments of weakness, hey, if he does something or she does something and break that marital bond, that way, then okay, you have the right to divorce. So I hope this has helped us. Is there any questions? I'm